Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Jaimi. Check it out. All right. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I'm talking to Jaimi. Jaimi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, I'm so happy that you're on Fans with Bands. Because I remember, and I was looking it up. It was 2015. Years ago, I saw you in a band called Rain at the Token Lounge, and then I saw you at Dirt Fest. It was like that was 8 years ago, I guess.
That's crazy.
I know. And then, so I got to know you a little bit there. And then I saw you recently doing that awesome cover of Xanadu with our friends in Imminent Sonic Destruction, which was fantastic.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was awesome. And now you've got this album, Blurred, which is fantastic. I can't
Thank
tell you
you.
how awesome it is. But there's one problem in that the title, Blurred, I think is a little bit off because the music is so focused and outstanding. I just like, where did so hopefully we'll get into that.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, but thanks for being on here. So to launch right into it, how did Blurred come about? What's the story behind that album?
So it's actually kind of a funny story. A couple years ago, which seems crazy to me,
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend at work, and he was like, "Hey, we should start a band." And I was like, "Okay." Uh, um, so I asked my good friend Alex if he'd be interested, and he said he was. We ended up having some creative differences, so we decided to part ways with my coworker. And Alex and I were just like, we're on the same page with a lot of the stuff. Um, so we decided to keep going, and we wrote a bunch of music, and we recorded it in my creepy basement. and and all of this happened, and it was great.
Nice. So that's been 2 years in the making.
Yeah,
Yeah.
since the winter of 2021.
Wow, crazy. So,
Yeah.
like, what was the inspiration? I mean, obviously you were, somebody was like, "Hey, we should make some music." But had you been thinking about it at all, or was it just like that was the spark that said, "Yeah, I've got some tunes and I'm ready to write."
I mean, I was on and off thinking about it over the years. I took a hiatus after my time in Rain, like 5-ish years. I took
Hmm.
some time off. Um, and I just completely put it away. I didn't do anything. I mean, I fiddled around on my piano, sometimes my guitar. I still sang in the shower. Um, so I still did some stuff here and there, like just for me to
Yeah.
keep myself going. But when it came to doing stuff seriously and taking my music seriously, I took a hiatus. But there were times where I was like, man, I really miss it. I miss playing on stage. I miss writing. I miss being able to collaborate with all these great people and create cool stuff. So I started going to shows again. And I'm actually a part of another group too called Just the Basic. Um, they don't really play shows. They're mostly a studio band.
Okay.
And um, I ran into an old friend from LC Beings at another show. And he was like, "Hey, we actually messaged you and you never responded." And I was like, "Oh, crap. They were still in my message requests." I never got to it. So it's just been on and off missing it. And then I decided finally just to jump back in. Like I dove back in head first. And
Cool. Cool.
I'm
So
really happy I
did you
did it.
have any of the song ideas fleshed out? And so, because I want to try to understand, like, what was the writing process like with, were you and Alex like I said, did you have some things like sort of fleshed out, or was it the both of you kind of getting together and saying, yeah, this works, this doesn't work?
It was kind of a combination of both.
Okay.
There were a couple of songs that he had completely fleshed out. All he needed was vocals, like vocal melodies and lyrics and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a stab at a couple of them and they ended up working. And when it came to everything else, it was mostly me settling around on my keyboard and saying, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And he'd say whether or not we could go forward with it or not.
Cool.
And yeah.
So, like I said, the whole album is outstanding. But there's a couple of tunes I want to talk about because I really, really like them. The first one is called Yesterday. So can you tell
Okay.
me the inspiration behind that? How did that song come to be?
That was one of the songs that was completely fleshed out, and all that was needed was lyrics and vocals. Um, it took me a year and a half to get something that we liked because it was awful. It was so bad. For the first like 6 months, I was every single idea I threw out, we both hated it. It was awful. And I was like, okay, never again. I thought it was cursed. Um, then finally, I actually remember I've been playing around with this phrase, like seasons change and the leaves show their age. I was like, that's a really cool line. I really want to use it. And I was like, is it okay if I swear? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have a
for
potty
sure.
mouth.
Go for it.
Cool. Awesome. I was like, fuck it. We're going to go for it.
Yeah.
And I was driving in the Meyer parking lot and then I just, I was playing it, like the music that he sent me. And I came up with a random melody and I was like, okay, this is good. So I sent it to him and he goes, I think you finally cracked the code. I was like, fuck yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So was it just you and Alex pretty much working on this, or did you have some other folks
It was pretty much
chiming
just
in?
us two.
Nice.
Um, Throughout the process, I sent a couple of mixes to Tony to get some of his honest input because I knew he'd be honest with me.
Yeah.
Um, and he gave his input on some stuff, and uh, but basically, it was mostly just me and Alex. Um,
Nice. Very nice.
yeah.
Well, I think you guys did a great job of not only the performances, but the mix. I think is really good. It's really well balanced. Guitars sound great. You know, your vocals sound awesome. Um,
Thank you.
was that again just you guys, or did you have anybody else coming in to twiddle the knobs, so to speak?
That was just us. Like I said,
Awesome.
I'm sure in some mixes you might be able to hear my dogs walking around upstairs because it was in my creepy basement.
Awesome.
I think we did a good job at dialing that out, but there are times when we were down there where the water softener would go off. You could hear
Oh
the
yeah.
dogs like barking at the neighbor behind us. You could hear them walking around because we had hardwood floors. Like
Oh man.
if you breathe too loud, we could hear
Oh, I'm gonna have to re-listen now because I
it.
just had it playing over to my displays, you know, so not like headphones or anything. So I'll have to give it another a couple listens, see if I can hear the dogs. The other tune I really love is called Heartbeat.
Oh, that's a
Um,
good one.
what's the story? What's the inspiration for that one?
So we're gonna get a little personal here.
That's okay. That's good. It's what we want
uh,
to do.
right. um, my husband and I have been married for like 3 years. Uh, and I've been having some fertility issues, which sucks.
Yeah.
And last year I saw the latest Doctor Strange movie where the main concept of the main concept of the movie was the witch, Wanda, seeing her kids in her dreams. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can see my kids in my dreams. This is crazy. So I kind of connected it. And yeah, that one was really, it wrote itself, but it was really hard for me to write emotionally,
Yeah.
because I had to sit down and be really honest with myself. And um, that song was also really hard to sing and play at the same time. So that in itself was a challenge for me to write.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I
but
can't imagine.
it
You
was
know.
really nice to like sit down and watch the movie and be able to connect and be like, oh my God, that totally makes sense. And um, that's how I feel best expressing that is through that song. And it I showed it to my brother too, my little brother. He just turned 20. I love him, but he's a shit ass. And we were going for a drive. I showed it to him and he started bawling and I was like, oh God,
Oh man.
oh shit. Sorry, Nikki.
Awesome. Well, you know, Fans with Bands just isn't about me asking you questions, although I've got plenty to go. But I'll open it up if Tony or Helen or Alex, although Alex, you were involved, so we probably should get you looped in here too. But Does anybody have any questions for Jaimi?
None at this time yet.
All right,
I
cool.
can't think of anything right now, but
I have some, but I'm gonna wait till later.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
cool, awesome. So Alex, Jaimi, how did you guys get to know each other, and what was your inspiration? I want to get both your stories, if we can, about like how did you get into, well, how did you meet, and then how did each of you get into music?
Well,
I don't know who wants to start. So
well, I'll talk about how we met. It was like 10-ish years ago. I was 19. I still had braces. I was still in Rain. And we did a show at this place called The Bridge in Flint, and he was there. His dad ran sound, um, and Rain and the Coggins family basically just kind of linked up and became really good friends. And Alex and I, because we were both basically kids at the time, we really connected and we became good friends. And there was one show, there was one show, it was like a family fun day. And, back in Rain, I had my keyboard sideways. So, like, my side was towards the
yeah.
audience because the keyboard is big and awkward and it was awful. And how this stage was set up was the sound was placed behind, like on stage right behind me. And there was one song in particular called Fallen. And in that song, Carrie and I, we did a dance, and Alex was there running sound. And in this dance, we had to like shake our butt. And so my butt was in his face. So I held very still. But it was basically just a lot of shows at the church, at the Bridge Church in Flint, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. So what got you into music? What was your inspiration to want to play music? And more importantly to so because a lot of people, pick up an instrument or like you said, sing in the shower. But it takes another level of like, I don't know, craziness to want to go do that on stage. So how did you get inspired to perform music?
Well, I grew up in a musical family. As you know,
Mhm.
Jared is my dad. He was also in Rain, and he's a guitarist. And like I said, grew up in a musical family. So my dad played guitar. My uncle played the drums. My other uncle played drums, piano, guitar, bass, the whole
Wow.
shebang except for singing. I had an aunt who sang. I have a grandma who I love to death, but she's very tone deaf. Um, so I
But she
share her
loves music,
passion.
so there you go. Yeah.
Yes, we share the passion. So it was kind of just bound to happen at some point. I was always singing. My mom tells everybody that before I could even speak, whenever I was watching the Aristocats, like I was 2 years old, only when they were singing, I would like clap my hands. But and then as for piano, I just kind of started at 4. Jared brought home a keyboard one day and said, "Hey, you're gonna play this," and my 4-year-old self was like, "Okay." Um, And then at 12, I asked Jared to show me some guitar stuff. So I learned some git fiddle, and it's just kind of bound to happen. It was a lot of fun.
Cool. Do you play any other instruments? Is keyboard is your main instrument, correct?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you do
Um,
most of your composing on the keyboard, or do you bounce back to guitar or anything else?
Lately, it's been just me and the piano, um, because that's all I have. I have an ukulele too, and I've fiddled with that.
Uh,
I have a couple songs written on the ukulele too, and those are being recorded with just the basic. Um, I sold my guitar, unfortunately, 2 years ago. Big mistake. Um, Alex was very mad at me about that. It was a beautiful 12-string acoustic. That's
oh.
my favorite thing. His name was Charlie. Um,
That's a good name for a
but
guitar.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, right now it's just me and my piano.
Nice. Nice. Do you think you will get into get another guitar, or do you just like stick with keyboards?
I have a sneaky suspicion that my husband might be looking at guitars for me.
Oh, all right.
He's very cute, but he's not sneaky at all.
Oh man, awesome. So what was your so I kind of like to get into like, where folks come from in their music. And so, what was the first album that you bought? And that may be an album, CD, whatever.
Oh God. Oh, don't judge me. It was Britney Spears.
All right.
I was
Excellent.
in the third grade. My entire room was pink. There were flowers everywhere. Uh, and I was very into Britney. Not so much anymore. Her voice is a little, she's talented. I think she's a great dancer. This is not my style anymore.
Yeah.
But since then, I've evolved from like, it's Britney bitch to Pat Benatar, then Dream Theater and Queensryche and all them. Then I got cool and
No.
what his music was.
Nice. Well, there's nothing wrong. Because sometimes you like when you look back, like I think of bands that I just wrote off when I was a kid because I was like, fuck that. Like, so my sister loved the Police and Queen, and because she loved them, I hated them. So I was like, fuck that. And so I missed out on like a lot of music until later in life. I'm going, why am I not listening to this? And then so then I got into it. So, although I never really got into Britney, I
Don't blame you.
yeah, but some of that stuff, the pop stuff is totally fine. Some of it's
Yeah.
horrible, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I basically like anything I can sing along with. But when coming back to Queen, I love Queen. I have three brothers, and every single summer we would all go up north to Rogers City, and we would all jam out to Queen. Bicycle was our jam.
Oh,
It
really?
was, oh yeah, Bicycle and Fat Bottom Girls
Nice.
every time. It was on repeat the entire way up north. My parents hated us. It's fine.
So do you guys have plans to take Blur and to the stage, do some shows and stuff like that?
I need a band.
Tony?
Yeah,
Alex?
what's up?
Yeah. I'm sure the two of you could scrounge up a band. Come on.
Yeah, I'll play bass.
There you go.
Yeah,
So not the drums. That's your main
I'm not a
instrument,
drummer.
Tom.
Not at all. I can program them just like Alex.
Mhm.
Nice.
When it comes to live stuff, I don't know. Uh, right now I'm just doing like on and off stuff. If Tony ever needs me for anything, he knows he can hit me up. Um, I have a show coming up on the 26th for the Amalgamation Project,
Oh,
and that's actually really cool. We're doing Yesterday as our song. It's basically where a whole bunch of musicians are paired up to write a song, and like and it's pairs that you would never think to put together. There's an opera singer with a prog metal player,
oh, wow.
and the song that they put together is fucking badass. I cannot wait to hear them play that live.
Awesome.
Um,
So what is this? How did this come? Like, what is Amalgam? Is it a thing, like a ongoing? Is it just a one-off kind of project, or like an ongoing thing where it's and by an ongoing thing I mean sort of like I don't know, an institution that kind of does this thing, an ongoing event.
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I was kind of a last minute addition.
Oh, cool.
There were a couple people who dropped out. So my friend Phil from LC Banks, he reached out and he goes, "Hey, so I'm part of this thing called the Amalgamation Project. We had a couple people drop out, and I reluctantly put your name in, and the guy was interested. Do you want to do one of your songs off of your new album? And I'll play guitar, and there'll be a backing band." And I was like, "Sure." Um,
Awesome. So like what will that just be like is that performed live then? Yes?
Yep,
Did I miss
it'll
that?
be
Okay.
performed live
Cool.
there's going to be one band, and then the pairs will go up and play their song backed by that backing house band.
Cool.
Um,
Where is that
I
and when?
It'll be at the Beazle Concert Lounge
Okay.
on August 26th. Um, I just became friends with the leader of it, Brian Knickerbocker. I don't
Okay.
know if you know him. You might.
Maybe. The name sounds familiar, but I can't place the face.
Uh, yeah, he jumped on like me joining it, and I was he the band learned the song yesterday in 2 days, and they did a
Wow.
pretty damn good job at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was really impressed and very tired because that's a lot of high notes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the tune that has like the super high note, right? Where you're
Yep.
carrying it for quite like maybe
Yesterday.
third. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that I hated myself for writing that song that day at practice.
Awesome. And so you mentioned the other band, which I've totally blanked out on, where you're gonna play
Just the
the
basic.
ukulele. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's the story behind that band? And it's more contemporary music, or what would it be considered?
No, they're pretty heavy too.
Oh, okay.
They have some screaming stuff. I've never written to screaming music before. Uh, but the guy's really good at it. His name is Eric. He's a really good screamer. Um, I feel awful all the time because he's like, "Hey, what do you think of the lyrics?" And I respond with, "I don't really know what you're saying because you're screaming, but I'm sure they're great."
Well,
he has to like type them out and send them to me.
yeah. But when you so have you had this experience when you listen to somebody that screams or does death metal vocals, and then you can read the lyrics? Can you then hear it?
Yes.
Yeah. Isn't that
Yeah.
weird?
That's so weird.
I
Yeah.
know. Because for the longest time, like um, my entry into death metal was At the Gates and Carcass. So Heartwork from Carcass and Terminal Spirit Disease from At the Gates. And if you've ever listened to At the Gates, it's like this agonized, tortured scream. You know, that's what Tomas's vocal.
Mhm.
Ah! But you can kind of make out a few of his words. But then when you see the lyrics, you go, "Oh shit!" It all comes, and it's especially true if you listen to like the Cookie Monster, you know, like Corpse Grinder from, Cannibal Corpse or something, or Chris Barnes when he was back in that band, where they're, "Oh," and you're like, "What is it? Are they really saying words, or is it just are they just fucking with me?" And you can kind of make some of those words out. Now, sometimes you can't, like
Yeah.
the pig squeals and all that stuff. You're like,
That's weird.
yeah, it is weird. Especially there was this band I saw, shit, Pile, Putrid Pile. Yeah, that's what it was. It's a grind band. It's one dude. That's what he does the whole time, like super fast guitars, you know, and with a drum machine going, "Ah," and then him doing, and then him sort of like that, but pig squealing the whole time, you know, and like, oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
an
in the
acquired
studio.
taste, I guess.
Yeah, in the studio, they were like labeling what kind of scream they were gonna do, and then he's like, "Okay, what about Piggy?" And then Phil goes, "Okay, yeah, we'll do Piggy." And I was like, "What the fuck is Piggy?" Phil goes, "You'll see." And then he did it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah, you're right."
So speaking of singers, is there anybody that you really admire that kind of influenced your style?
Well, all the singers that I absolutely adore have really sultry, smoky voices, and my voice is not smoky. It pierces. It's very piercing. It's very clean. I can't do raspy. I've tried. Josh told me I should start smoking. I said, "Fuck that. Smoking is bad. Just say no, kids."
Yeah.
Um, but I absolutely adore Dolan Turner. Um, and Ann Wilson from Heart. Oh, I love her voice.
Yeah.
Like I said, very, very like gritty, dirty, smoky voices. But I'd say when it comes to like stuff, people that I can relate to, vocal role models, I would go with James LaBrie because he's got a very also piercing, clean, clear voice too.
Yeah, but he sucks now.
I wouldn't. I only saw Dream Theater once, and I was in the 8th grade.
Okay, well then it was great for you then.
Yeah, it
Yes,
was
it
back.
was.
That was back a little ways then. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you.
That was a little rude of me. I apologize.
Well,
It's all good.
I was rude about Dream Theater, I think the last episode of this, because I was talking to somebody. I'm trying to remember who it was, but I think we were just talking about like performances where you can tell where the artist is really into their music. And not to say that
Mhm.
Dream Theater are not into their music, but I went to a show, and this was probably, I don't know, it's probably getting on 8 or 9 years ago, maybe. But it was the very first time seeing Dream Theater. I'd always been into them. Well, not always, since, what was the one album that kind of lifted them up? It was like in the 90s.
Scenes from a Memory.
Yeah.
Oh, Images and Words.
Yeah, Images and Words.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I got into them then, and I really, enjoyed the music. And so finally got to see them, and I was bored out of my mind because it was just like watching, like I could have listened to the album and got the same experience I felt,
Mm-hmm.
because it was, I mean, it was kind of incredible well, it was incredible to see, um, geez, I'm blanking out on,
When did you see him?
I want to say it was like 8 years ago, maybe 9.
Mm.
But yeah, it was just, it was kind of boring. And I'm like, whatever. So anyway.
I
Yeah, I
wonder if
kind
that
of
was when
stopped.
Portnoy was in the band.
Yeah, I kind
it,
of stopped
it
after
was,
Portnoy left. I
yeah.
feel awful. I listened to A
You
Dramatic Turn of
shouldn't.
Events, and it was fine, but it wasn't. They did. I feel like they lost their character, like what made them different
Absolutely.
from everybody else, and it sucked because I loved them growing up.
Yeah.
Activarium and Black Clouds and Silver Linings were a couple. Those were the two albums that I really got acquainted with. When I got to know Dream Theater, and then I got into their older stuff, and I was like, holy shit, these guys are really good.
Yeah.
And then Portnoy left, and I was sad, and a dramatic turn of events happened, and I was like, okay, I can get down with this ish. This is
Yeah.
fine. There was an obvious change because I mean, drummers, they bring a lot to the band.
Yeah.
Everybody brings a lot to their bands. But that was a huge change. And then the album after that, I can't remember what it was, but it was the album after that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Sorry, guys. You're great, but
Yeah.
I'm out.
I think it happens. That's kind of a, I think, well, at least for me, my experience has been like sometimes, you're really into a band, you follow them so long, and then an album comes out that either they just weren't into it or something, but it kind of just derails it. And so then you're like, okay, I love that band, but I only love them up to here, right? Because
Mhm.
after that, they're just, Metallica, the Black Album. I know that's a dividing thing. People became Metallica fans when they heard that album.
Mhm.
The album to me was like fucking letdown. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I waited for like in line to go to a listening thing for that. Fuck no.
Mhm.
I was so bummed out. And then I was like, oh fuck that. Fuck that band. But I love old I love I love old Metallica, but after that I'm like, whatever. So anyway. So like progressive music, you mentioned Dream Theater, and
Mhm.
obviously your album is in the progressive mold. Was there other progressive bands that kind of were influential for you or that you admired?
I mean, obviously Dream
And
Theater.
Queen, yeah.
And Queen. Um, I grew up listening to a lot of Dream Theater, Queen, Queensryche. I met Queensryche. They were so cool.
Oh, cool.
Jeff Tate bought me a shot. I don't think he realized that he bought me a shot, but he bought me a shot. We're going to stick with that story.
Awesome.
Was that at the Diesel?
No, that was at Token.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was at their acoustic thing. I was front row. They were doing Take Hold of the Flame. I was going to do the high note with him, and he goes, Take Hold. And I was like, no, I was going to do it with you.
He can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess time does that, but still, I could have done it for you then.
Right.
Let me on stage.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, they'd hear this voice blasting out from the audience. What the hell? What's going on? Awesome. So, speaking of like shows, what's the most memorable show you've ever been to?
Memorable show I've ever been to. I gotta be honest, I haven't gone to a lot of large shows.
It's okay. It could be a small show. It could be anybody. Somebody playing in the backyard was memorable.
Let's see. My first show with Pat Benatar. She lowered all of her notes, like all of her songs, like 3 keys.
Wow.
Woof.
I know. I mean, she had really high songs. Heartbreaker was
Yeah.
a big one. But the most memorable, I would have to say, I gotta think about this. I'd have to say the first time I opened for Queensryche because, I mean, obviously I opened for them, so I performed, but it was so cool to like share the stage with them.
Yeah.
That was at the Diesel. I was on the lounge side, they were on like the big side, and that was the very first time. I think that's the first time we played with Imminent Sonic Destruction.
Yep.
I still had braces. And it was the first time we had like a big audience too. So I was like, oh my God, we're playing for a whole bunch of people. And then on the other side, I was like, over there, I can just walk like 20 feet that way. And then there's fucking Queensryche.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome.
It
That
was so cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. So, what did you take away from like those, like the beginning of when you first performed on stage until now? Like, what were some of like the things you really learned about like, performing and doing your craft?
Um, Obviously being on stage and having good stage presence and being good at what you do is a it's a good part of it, but
Mhm.
an even bigger part of it is the connections that you make with the other bands that you share the stage with. Um, Being good is only like a quarter of the job. It's all
Mhm.
about making connections. It's all about networking. It's all about perfecting your craft and doing what you do best. And never assuming that you're the best at anything. Always giving yourself room to grow because no matter how good you are, you can always be better. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
the biggest thing for me was just making connections. When I first started playing out, I was in a relationship and he was great. But because of him, we left. I went there, I set up my stuff, played the show, tore my stuff down, and we left. I didn't stay to make connections or anything. And because
Yeah.
of that, nobody knew me. They just said, "Oh, there's that girl with the big hair that plays keyboards behind for that one band."
Right. Right.
And that was it. Um, and
Yeah.
after we ended things, I started hanging out more and staying after shows and making connections. That's how I got to know the guys in ISD and how they thought, oh, she's not just that guy's girlfriend.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good point, as far as the networking goes, because that's a big part of it.
Huge.
I always feel bad, now when I'm at a show because, years ago I used to play and then, you would just hang out. If you were first, you'd be hanging out, listening to the other bands. If you were last, you were hanging out, waiting to play. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but taking pictures, I get so like kind of focused on doing what I'm doing that I don't,
Right.
sometimes I don't even talk to anybody. I'm like, fuck, I didn't even see you. Sorry. So
Yeah.
it is important. So it's cool. So if you could go anywhere to do play a show, where would that be?
Oh crap. Um. Okay. So I worked at a church for 3 years as a youth worship director. I know, hard to believe. And there was this festival that we would go to every single year called the Creation Festival. It was in Pennsylvania and it was held in the Valley of the Mountains. And
Okay.
you were just surrounded by sound and noise and in the best way possible. And it was gorgeous. You wouldn't think that the sound would be good, but it was actually really freaking good. So if I could go play anywhere, that would probably be it, as long as it was packed and loaded with people and we had good sound and maybe not so much Christian music. I mean, if that's your jam, go for it.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's not quite mine anymore. I'm
So if
more into
you
metal.
so if you well, there are Christian metal bands, aren't they?
There are.
Some. Isn't Pain of
Um,
Salvation Christian? No,
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 they
that's
just
not.
their name sounds like it, but
It
they're far
sounds like
from
it
it.
is. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Striper wasn't there? Weren't they?
Striper was, yeah.
sure
We opened
are.
for
Yep.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think. Isn't there a death metal band that's like a
There is, I can't think of the name,
Christian
but I
band?
know that they're out there. They were at Creation Fest. And there was a
That's
huge mosh
incredible.
pit. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a huge mosh pit and
Yeah.
I almost got trampled. It was terrifying. I'm not a very big person and everybody else was gigantic. And it was
Yeah.
there were so many people moshing. It was just a giant mud pit and it was very rainy that Creation Fest week. So it was terrifying and awesome and great at the same time.
Awesome. Oh, Alex put that Disciple is Christian rock metal.
Okay,
Oh yeah, and it's his favorite band too.
cool.
Disciple. Yeah,
I'll have to check them out.
yeah. So, who if you gave me the place, but who would you like to have on that bill with you? This dream bill at the dream
This
place.
Dreamville. I've been listening to, hang on, I'm gonna pull up my phone here because I'm terrible at remembering band names.
Yeah, me too.
Um, um, probably Camelot because that guy's voice is
Yeah.
insane. I fangirled over him one time because I got to meet him and I was like, how do you keep your voice so clear and perfect? And then I didn't remember anything you said because I was just like, he talked to me. So Camelot, Circus Maximus. Be really cool to play with Boston, like in their prime. Um, there's this other band that I used to listen to, Amaranthi.
Oh, all right. I don't think
They
I've
would be really cool.
heard of them. How's that spelled?
Yeah. Amaranth,
Amaranthi.
Elise Rid.
Yeah, yes. She's got
Yeah.
a killer voice.
Yeah, she's hot too.
Excellent.
I mean,
nice.
yeah, she is.
Bonus. She got a bonus point for
She's
hotness.
nice to look at.
So what's your if you're gonna just like listen to music, what's your perfect space to do that? Is it in the car? Is it on a walk? Is it just hanging out in the living room? What's the space that you like to listen to?
Anywhere I can sing along with it as loudly as I can without being judged. So basically when I'm home alone, because Josh is busy doing stuff too.
Yeah.
And I don't want to annoy him. So when I'm home alone, the acoustics in my bathroom are fantastic. My car, I love listening to music in my car because I can like lower and do it as I please. And sing along. I get weird looks, but it's fine. I smile and wave. Just basically anywhere I can listen alone and not be judged.
Awesome. So, Tony or Helen or Alex, did you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I got a handful of questions actually. If you don't mind, I'll just
go for it.
Rapid fire. So, actually, I'll start with Alex just because I have a question about the recording. I mean, I get ask you too, Jaimi, but he did the recording, right?
Yes.
All right. So, Alex, what did you guys use for recording software? Just because I'm kind of geeking out about it. It sounds great. Like you guys did a great job recording it.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Logic Pro.
Oh, he probably doesn't have it. Oh, okay. Oh, it is. Okay, yeah. There it is. I thought he had his mic on. That's my bad. Okay.
No
then my other question is, I was well, since we are friends, I happen to have heard some of your newer little, songs that you started, and you're playing the ukulele. I'm sorry, the ukulele.
Yeah, the ukulele.
and they're great. But when you showed me those, and then I listened to the new album, I was actually kind of surprised at how heavy it was. So how do you go forward, like with the new music going forward, and you're rocking an ukulele, considering how heavy your music was before? So that's my big question. Yeah.
That is a great question. So the latest song that I wrote on the ukulele is going to be recorded with just the basic, and that's going to be Railroads, the chasing down a train and hoping this railroad's always empty. That one. I don't know if you it's on my Instagram if you're interested.
Yeah. But is that band the Scream Band?
Yep, that's the Scream Band. They have the
scratch. How the fuck's that gonna work?
I have no idea, to be honest. They have the scratch tracks for it, and they're gonna write their parts to the scratch tracks, and they're really excited because Phil's gonna do the mandolin on it too, and I don't know how that's gonna work, but we'll figure it out as we go.
I'm intrigued.
Right? Yeah. That's basically how we've been doing all of it. I just send them my scratch tracks, and they write their parts to it, and they just basically listen to what they think the song needs and go forward from there.
Crazy. Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then I did have one other question too. Probably the most serious question. So you think of like the lexicon of female singers like Pat Benatar, Stevie Nicks, Joan Jett, Ann Wilson, Melissa Etheridge. Why is it that you're better than all of them?
I don't really know how to
I guess-
answer that question. Other
Yeah,
than, thank you.
So do you ever get kind of playing off of Tony's thing, but in a serious vein, like people may see like the cover for Blurred and think it's going to be the cover and the title gives you an impression that the music's going to be um I don't want to be sexist, but like it's going to be, I don't know, light
Sexy.
and airy, but or that or something. But it's
typical
not going to
female music.
but it's not going to be heavy. And so, but you are definitely ensconced in heavy music. So do you get folks that just like are shocked by that? That, oh shit, you're playing in a heavy band. It's not like you're just, I don't know. I don't want to disparage singer songwriters because they do great stuff, but it's
Right.
different, right? So,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
well, like, do you get people that are shocked that when you say, "Oh, here, listen to my music," and they're expecting
Yes.
like Melissa Etheridge, and they get,
Mhm. Yeah,
the
people are.
awesome heavy tunes that you have on Blurred.
Thank you. Yeah, people are typically pretty surprised. That was the main response that I got from it. We have a friend named Pat, and he goes, with all your piano ditties that you post on social media, I was really surprised to see that it was, heavy. And I mean, I grew up, I've joined Rain, was forced to join Rain at 14. So I grew up playing it. It's just what I'm used to. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say I was forced, but it was Jared was, hey, I'm going to start this metal band and you're going to be a part of it. And I was like, being in the band with your dad is not cool. And he goes, you're in it or you're grounded. And I was like, I'm in a band with my dad. Cool. So it's just kind of what I'm used to. I mean,
Yeah.
oh, thanks, Helen. You're so kind. Yeah, and I use the title Blurred because I felt the subject matter and even some of the genre, because there's a couple ballads in there,
Mhm.
is a little blurry. It goes from heavy to almost pop to ballad to back to heavy. So I'm like, the subject matter is kind of all over the place. So
Yeah. Yeah,
when
that's a
people
good,
ask,
when you explain it that way, that does make a lot of sense then.
yeah, because
Yeah.
people ask, what's your genre? And I'm like, I don't know, to be honest, just
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. So, I mentioned some of my favorite tunes, but what's the favorite, or I know it's hard to pick a favorite, but what are a couple of the favorites that you love on the album?
A couple of the favorites, probably there's a couple songs that I wrote that don't really mean that much because I just needed words and melodies.
Mhm.
Yesterday is one of them.
Mhm.
It's my favorite song musically because I think it's a great tune and
Yeah.
the vocal melodies are cool. And there's that high note that's also kind of neat. Um,
It is.
but
It's stellar.
thank you. When it comes to the subject matter, I'd have to go between Just a Name, Heartbeat, and Moving On.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yeah.
Heartbeat because I have that connection
Yep.
with, Wanda because she's great.
Yep.
And Just a Name because that's just me accepting my past and moving on from it. Um, and Moving On is more about the night that I left Clarkston and I moved back to Brighton, home to my mom. It was the night that that decision was made. Uh, and that night was pretty Helen was there for it. It's pretty traumatic. um so based on subject matter, I'd have to say Moving On.
Okay.
um
Awesome.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So, Tony mentioned that you've got some new music, and it sounds like some of that will go with the other band. Do you have plans to put some other stuff together with Alex and do like more?
Alex and I haven't talked about a second album. I know that he is extremely busy. He's got like 20 different jobs. um that's an exaggeration, but
Yeah.
he's a busy dude. I don't want to like cloud his inbox even more. um So I am planning on doing some solo stuff. I don't know how I'm gonna go about it. I'm sure, like I said, Alex and I haven't discussed a second project.
Hmm.
Um, I could see something happening in the future. Yeah, what
Oh,
he
see, there he
said.
goes. Yeah. I could see something happening. Awesome. Awesome. That's cool. So, what was I gonna say? Um, oh, if you like, and so you may have already answered this with some of the albums that you and bands you love, but if you were just gonna, um, like, you're meeting somebody and you're talking about music, and you go, "Hey, you really got to listen. You know, if you want to really understand me, you need to listen to these two albums." What are those albums? What are those albums you think that would give
Well,
somebody a perspective on you?
well, crap. I've never really thought about this question before. Um, mm, I mean, obviously my own album because that's very personal. It's a
Yeah,
great way to get to know me and stuff like that.
yeah.
But when it comes to stuff that um, I like Elvis. I'm gonna have to say, what's that? What is that one Queensryche album that has I Don't Believe in Love? It's
Oh,
that concept album that I don't believe
Operation
in love.
Mindcrime.
Yes.
Yeah, Operation Mindcrime.
Britney Spears, clearly. Yes, you should definitely listen to Britney Spears if you want to get to know me and my third grade self jumping on the bed.
Right.
Oh,
That's
baby,
toxic.
baby.
Yeah. Awesome. Operation Mindcrime. That's that's an interesting album because I had a friend. I've told the story before, but when that came out, uh, we all loved Queensryche, and
Mhm,
I was like huge into like the EP and the Warning. I like fucking just love those albums. I still do.
mhm.
And Operation Mindcrime came out, and my friend at the time, um, he played the shit out of that album. Like every time we listened to that or we listened to The Wall. So
Ugh.
yeah, it's two concept albums, and they're like constant. Like every time you were with them, that's what we were listening to, and I'm like, So I developed such a negative. Like both those albums, I can hardly listen to them anymore. I'm like, when I was so glad because I went and saw Queensryche recently. They
Mhm.
didn't do a whole lot of Operation Mindcrime, which I was like, oh, good. They got a
Cool.
couple tunes, but the rest of it was like older and some stuff off The Warning, which I think they ignored for the longest time, and I love that album. So
Now,
anyway,
which Queensryche did you see? The one with Jeff Tate or just the band?
so I'm an old man. I saw Queensryche with Jeff Tate back when they did The Warning, so I saw that tour, and I remember buying the EP when it came out, and I saw him then. I saw him at Operation Mindcrime, and then I've seen him since, like I think twice, maybe three times with Todd Delatorre.
Todd
Um,
Latour.
Todd
Yeah.
Latour, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think they're great. I've not seen Jeff Tate by himself, so I've not, I don't know why, but yeah, Queensryche, fantastic. That band, I got into that band. I think their EP came out around the same time, or maybe before Armored Saints, because that was another band I was huge into, Armored Saint, Queensryche, and I think I saw The Warning at Harpo's. I think that's where they played. Queensryche did. So there you go.
All right. Yeah, that's when I saw Jeff Tate by himself, with his acoustic band, and his guitarist Scott was there too. I'm friends with him on Facebook and I feel so cool saying that. Um, that's actually the show where Jeff unintentionally bought me a shot.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
cool dude.
Yeah. So, if you could talk to anybody and share a beverage with them, who would that be?
Freddie Mercury.
Oh, and what would you talk about?
I would um talk about our lifestyle because I really think he was a very interesting person. I mean, obviously he's freaking Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
I just want to get to know him. I want to know his favorite food. I'd want to know how he how he prepared for all of his shows, how he kept his voice so because he could go between raspy and clean. And I've always been fascinated by people who could do that because I can't. I've tried a few times.
Yeah.
There's one part in Just a Name where I don't really growl, but I kind of shout. And I was really proud of that. And Alex's was just like, he's like, it was just one word, Jaimi. Just one word.
Oh man, come on.
You don't understand.
Yeah, I've always been impressed with people that have those like massive ranges where they can do the full spectrum. Do you know? Well, I'm gonna guess you do. Stu Block. He was in Into Eternity. Which if you're not
Great band.
yeah, oh my God. And he eventually was in I think Iced Earth. And that dude, he can do that like air raid siren thing where you do and he could change up like from this really great like low growl and super high vocals. Man, awesome. Another dude that can do that is that dude who's now he's in Witherfall. The fuck's his name? Joseph Michael. That he's got that same kind of range where he's took over for Warrel Dane in Sanctuary. That dude's got a fantastic range too. So there you go. Some listening for anybody that wants to get into super high singing.
I will look into them.
Awesome. Well, Jaimi, thank you so much for being on Fans with Bands.
Thanks for having me.
Does anybody else have any questions? Because I got one more. Yeah. And this question's for everybody as well. So, Jaimi, pineapple or no pineapple in pizza?
I will never order it, but if someone hands me a Hawaiian style pizza, I will eat it to be polite and not throw up later.
Nice. So what's your favorite pizza combo topping?
I kind of go back and forth between barbecue pizza and BLT pizza.
Oh, BLT.
They're so good.
Yes. That is.
Jets doesn't have them anymore.
I think that's a highly underrated pizza.
It is.
Because, yeah, those are bad eyes. Jets doesn't have those anymore?
No, Josh and I tried to order a BLT pizza like 6 months ago, and I couldn't find it anywhere on their menu.
Oh, boy.
It's like, what the fuck?
Well, you're not too far from Zuki Lake Tavern. They still have them. So,
okay.
Yeah, just so you know, out by Pinckney, Hamburg area. So it's a short drive for you. There you go.
I have a question. What was the hardest part of doing your solo album?
Oh, good one.
The temperature in my basement. It was freezing down there. So I had to wear a pair of socks and then a pair of fuzzy socks and 2 pairs of pants and 2 sweaters down there. But that's where we, had to record because that's where the dogs weren't. I have 2 Alaskan Malamutes. They're adorable, but they have a lot to say. So definitely just the temperature.
Oh man. Yeah, and the dogs like to sing too, because Malamutes, they don't bark, they kind of sing.
Yeah, Arya, she barks. She tries to sing. She's not very good at it. Loki, on the other hand, he will scream with you. I tried posting a video not long ago, and I was doing that one song from The Greatest Showman. All the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars. Yep.
Yeah.
I was starting to get into it, and then Loki just lets it go, and I'll have to share the video with you. It's so funny.
Awesome. So Alex, pineapple, no pineapple on pizza. You can type it out, and I'll read it off.
And while he's doing that, then what was the best part? Probably doing it, like recording it with a really good friend of mine who we have basically the same mindset on music, and we were always on the same page in how we were going to go about writing and what the song needed. A lot of times I'd shoot an idea and he'd be like, I already had it, or vice versa.
Nice. That's awesome. And it appears that you guys are both on the same wavelength as far as pineapples. So that's good. That's very good.
Never pineapple.
Yeah, never pineapple. That's the proper answer, by the way, if anybody's wondering. Hey, Helen, how about you? Pineapple, no pineapple?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I won't order it for myself, but if it's offered to me, I will eat it. I will say anytime I've had pineapple on pizza, I've enjoyed it. So I can see both sides.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I think the
that's good of you,
sweetness of the
Helen. That's good of
pineapple
you.
balances out the saltiness of any additional Parmesan cheese.
There you go. There you go. And Tony, I can't remember. Were you weren't a pineapple person, were you?
I am a pineapple person, and my whole thing is if you like it, you get it, and you love it, you enjoy it. And I will say this: pineapple, jalapeno, and bacon is an amazing pizza combo. Try it out.
All
That
right.
actually sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I call that one the Daniel Gildenlow, Pain of Salvation singer.
Oh.
That's what I took. They're from Sweden. I took them
Okay.
to Buddy's when they came here, and
Yeah.
that's what he ordered. And I was like, I need to try that, and I've been hooked ever since.
Oh man. All right. Maybe I'll try
I mean,
it.
bacon does make everything better, so
It does. Bacon.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah. Bacon is the salvation of the world, really. Right there.
Mhm.
It's so good. Awesome. Well, Jaimi, thanks again for being on Fans with Bands. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I had a really good time.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Many thanks to Jaimi, Alex, Helen, and Tony for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. I love Jaimi's new solo album called Blurred. She has a phenomenal voice, and the music, written with longtime friend and music collaborator Alex, is evocative and powerful. I very much enjoyed getting into the details of the new music and hearing about her new work with the band Just the Basic. You can pick up Blurred on Apple and Amazon Music. See the show notes for all the details and links. Bands are nothing without you, the fans. Purchasing music and merchandise is critical to their survival. If you can help out your favorite bands, please do. If you're in Michigan, consider following the Playing in Detroit Area Tonight and SE for Southeast Michigan Music Facebook pages. They are fantastic places for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show, telling your friends, telling your neighbors, telling your family, telling your priest, tell everyone, and leave a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jam.